It's a world that most of us will never get to see. An underwater wilderness untouched by human hands. Here, on a remote chain of islands, thousands of miles from the nearest city, sea life flourishes, as it has since before humans walked the earth. While so much of the world's oceans are damaged daily, the Phoenix Islands are a blissful oasis, a paradise found. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, about halfway between Australia and Hawaii, you will find the 33 islands that belong to the Republic of Kiribati. Kiribati is a nation of water, not land. The population of less than 100,000 depends on the sea for its very survival.
Fish is the mainstay of our lifestyle in Kiribati. It is important that Kiribati people continue to be able to access this.
Of the 33 islands in Kiribati, there are 8 that are remote, even by local standards. These are the Phoenix Islands, a 5-day journey by boat from the capital, Tarawa. Today, only 1 island out of the 8, Canton, is inhabited. A handful of families live here as caretakers posted by the Kiribati government. The remoteness of the Phoenix Islands has kept most visitors and settlers away, but isolation has meant salvation for a phenomenal number of animals. Here, birds make their nests on uninhabited islands. Young sharks grow up in sheltered lagoons. And the reefs teem with abundant schools of tropical fish.
We are very fortunate in some of our more remote islands that we do have coral locations which remain very pristine, very much untouched. We are very much interested in maintaining the quality of these corals.
In cooperation with the Kiribati government, a team of scientists and expert divers conducted a survey of the Phoenix Islands ecosystem in the year 2000. They bought the Naya, a ship based in Fiji, and traveled for 5 days to reach their first stop.
We're actually going back in time in a way to find out what the ocean was once like and what it can one day be again.
The trip from Fiji is a long and bumpy one. After bouncing around on top of the waves for nearly a week, the team is eager to finally get underwater.
Let's go diving. 1, 2, 3.
The Phoenix Islands comprise one of the last unexplored and unstudied coral reef systems in the world. For the expedition team, this is an amazing opportunity, like being the first mountaineers to climb Everest.
dive on Nikamoruru. It was great. Beautiful visibility.
I want to go again. Beautiful dive. Beautiful fish. More fish than I've seen on any reef before.
Yep. All is right with the world. 5 days being sick was worth it.
Over the course of the next 3 weeks, the team surveys all 8 islands in the Phoenix group.
1, 2, 3.
More than 800 dives are logged.
1, 2, 3.
And even for these veteran divers, each and every dive is filled with delights and surprises.
We would be on a dive where a school of convict tangs would come and there would seemingly be no end to them. It had to be what man experienced when he went west for the first time and saw herds of bison that went on for hours, if not days.
We had the most astounding encounter with some manta rays. The manta rays came so close to us and they just circled around and around and around. You could see them staring right into our eyes. I think a lot of the wild animals here are even more curious than usual because they're not used to seeing people here. Maybe we're the first divers they've ever seen. I'm sure we're the first divers they've ever seen. I can't think of another place in the world where you can dive with this kind of abundance and diversity of coral reef fish. You drop into the water with huge schools of feeding butterfly fish. Next you're in among thousands of trevally. Enormous swarms of parrotfish spawning in the channels as the tide goes out to sea. These are the kinds of experiences that divers would kill for.
And it's not just underwater that life abounds on the Phoenix Islands. On land, there's another menagerie. Tens of thousands of seabirds find refuge here. 3 of the islands, Phoenix, McKean and Burney, provide important nesting grounds for terns, frigate birds, boobies and the endangered endemic Phoenix petrel.
It's nice to see islands that still belong to the birds.
Thank goodness they're far enough away from humans that they can remain pristine.
The Phoenix Islands are perfect outposts, not for people perhaps, but for thousands of seabirds. Surrounded by a healthy reef, the birds have plenty of fish to eat and to feed their chicks. But they still have to fear natural predators, like this hermit crab that can attack an unprotected egg.
One of the marvels of being out here is to see the diurnal migration. In the morning, you'll see the fishing birds go offshore by the tens of thousands, and then at dusk, you'll see them coming back by the tens of thousands. You can see a solid line of returning birds all along the horizon. At least 10,000 an hour for a few hours here. This won't be happening
It's just
every day.
waves and waves and waves of them coming back here. It's amazing.
And each one will find its own nest. Miraculous.
The Phoenix Islands are coral atolls, created over a span of more than 30 million years. The process of forming an atoll begins when coral reefs grow on the edge of mountainous islands. Eventually, the center of the island will subside, leaving a ring of growing coral. This ring is called an atoll.
These islands are basically made of coral. They are coral atolls. If you walk on the islands or look at any of the rock on all of the islands, it's all pieces of coral. If the coral wasn't growing here, the islands wouldn't be here at all.
In the center of the atoll is the lagoon. This calm, shallow body of warm water is a perfect place for many fish species to raise their young, including sharks. On Norona Island, the team discovers a shark nursery for young black-tipped reef sharks.
There's not many places in the world where you can see sharks, healthy shark populations abundantly, and where you can get so close and have really nice close encounters with them and feel very safe and very comfortable in the water.
Of all the wonders that the team sees in the Phoenix Islands, this is the most astonishing: the abundance and approachability of sharks. Sharks are the most powerful indicators of a healthy reef system. They are the ocean's top predators, and they can only survive if the rest of the reef is also thriving.
We have not been on a dive yet where we have not seen sharks, and these sharks are extremely inquisitive and incredibly curious. Some of these sharks are swimming an arm's length away from us, is intent at looking at us as we are intent at looking at them, as if we're being studied instead of them.
The team suspects that sharks don't just trawl the waters near the surface. They might also be lurking on the seafloor. To explore these nether regions, they will need something other than scuba tanks.
I don't know what we do without tie wraps. Tie wraps and duct tape keep a lot of this stuff together.
Scuba divers are limited to depths of about 100 feet, so the team is using a remotely operated camera called a rope cam that they will dangle from the side of the ship.
Normally when you want to explore the deep ocean, you've only got a couple of alternatives. One is to go down in a manned submersible, or the other one is to go down in a remotely controlled robot. And both of those are very expensive. They range anywhere from $25,000 to $75,000 a day to do that. This is a very inexpensive alternative where we can send a remote camera system down with bait to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet, and the bait will attract animals over to the system, and the camera and the lights come on and off at specified times, photographing what's there.
The camera will be sent to a depth of about 1,000 meters or 3,000 feet. Leaving the camera at this depth for a few hours, they hope that bait will lure creatures to within sight of the lens.
So that's what it looks like down there, folks. Getting darker. And we're sort of just drifting. Probably until we hit the...
What was that over on the bottom?
You saw something? A shrimp or something down there, I see. Yeah, probably a shrimp, right?
Yeah,
okay. Right in the center. You're right, good eyes. Oh, now we're down there.
Oh, look, there he is in the background. There's two. One down the corner and one at the back.
That's nice.
Can you make it to the camera?
The eel's going to come up and go.
Oh, more shrimp, more shrimp.
Attention in the room. What's the thing that just swam across there?
Another little shrimp, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's
awesome.
coming back.
Come on up, come on
Coming
up.
back.
He's checking it out. Come on. Come on up.
Come on, get your snoot into the frame. Enormous dorsal fin.
That's a big shark.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
What was that?
Wow.
Six scale.
Six scale.
Dead center, all right.
Wow.
Getting the image of a 6-gill shark is yet another coup for the team, and it's one more sign of just how healthy the Phoenix Islands are. While so many of the other parts of the world's oceans have been overfished, the reefs here are still bursting with life.
Coral reefs are one of the most biologically diverse places in the ocean, in some ways like rainforests are on land. But in the ocean, it's actually even better. There's actually more diversity in the ocean for all the major animal groups. It's really a wonderful, colorful, and important part of the Earth's ecosystem.
After 3 weeks of daily diving and discovery, the team reluctantly heads home. The expedition has been a resounding success, and the work of preserving these islands can now begin in earnest.
Most places in the world, the oceans, the coastal areas have already been destroyed, have already been damaged in some way, and then people come in and create conservation and management plans. We have a unique opportunity here. Since we're the first people to do a survey of the Phoenix Islands like this, we're actually going to be able to compile and create a conservation and management plan for this area.
In 2002, the team was invited back to survey the islands once again. This time, they were joined by one of the world's foremost experts on coral reef fishes, Dr. Jerry Allen.
I've been diving in the Indo-Pacific now for some 35 years. It was a real eye-opener coming here to the Phoenix Islands. I just can't tell you enough how impressed I am with just the abundance of sheer numbers here. I've never seen anything like this anywhere in the Indo-Pacific. You just don't see reefs like this anymore.
What impresses Jerry the most is the sheer quantity of Napoleon wrasse.
This is a fish that's very threatened throughout its range. And places like Indonesia and the Philippines, you just hardly ever see this fish anymore. In the Phoenix Islands, we were routinely running across 25 adults on a single dive. This is absolutely astounding.
On this, the second expedition to the Phoenix Islands, the team continues its baseline survey work. 800 more dives, and on each and every one, the team takes detailed notes and photographs of what species they see. This data is vital for the work in painting an ecological portrait of the Phoenix Islands. By the end of this second expedition, the team has evidence of more than 500 different fish species. And to top it all off, one of the fish they found is entirely new to science.
The black bar above that spot there, that sort of faint bar, and the yellow caudal fin, I mean, there's just no other chromis like it. I'm just totally convinced this is a new species, so. Woo! Okay, let's go further, Mark. This looks like the spot we did last time. The point on the reef there lines up with the shoreline.
David and Sankita return to the Shark Nursery Lagoon. But this time, they're in for a shock.
Do you remember 2 years ago when we first snorkeled into this lagoon? There were sharks in the shallows. They'd swim into the deep with us. When we came right up into the lagoon, and then we saw just black-tipped sharks everywhere. We could see their fins breaking through the water.
Yeah, and now there's not one.
To find out what happened to the sharks, the team returns to Canton Island. The islanders explain that in 2001, a large ship came through and caught literally hundreds of sharks.
They just went by their small boats surrounding our islands here and catch 60 to up to 100 sharks each day. And once they got that, they just cut out the fins and threw the rest to the sea.
Across the oceans, shark finning has reached epidemic proportions. Humans kill millions of sharks a year, simply for their fins, and then throw their bodies back into the sea. These fins are then shipped to markets and restaurants, where a bowl of shark fin soup can cost as much as $100.
We don't know how long it'll take the shark population to come back. They reproduce very slowly, so once all of them have been taken out of the water like that, we don't know. It could take 10 years, 15, 50 years for the shark population to recover. We don't know.
The onslaught of the shark finning shows that while the Phoenix Islands may be remote, they are still very much connected to the rest of the planet. The need to ensure their protection is all the more urgent. The future of the Phoenix Islands lies with the people of Kiribati, this nation of islanders so deeply connected to the sea. In collaboration with international conservation groups and donors, the Kiribati government is considering a proposal that would create an endowment specially for the Phoenix Islands. The interest on the endowment would equal the amount of money the Kiribati government could get from foreign fishing licenses. Essentially, the endowment would allow the Kiribati government to protect the Phoenix Islands from commercial overfishing.
Kiribati normally sells fishing licenses to foreign countries to come in and take fish. In this case, they'll forego selling those licenses, but will still get the revenues from this endowment. In this way, the ecosystem remains pristine, but the country still is able to reap some economic benefit from keeping it pristine.
Part of the ongoing discussions is closing off certain areas so that they would remain unavailable for commercial exploitation. I think it is important for biodiversity and in fact for the wealth of mankind.
So many coral reefs around the world have been destroyed by overfishing and overdevelopment. But the Phoenix Islands are like a beacon of hope. For all of us, the promise of the Phoenix Islands is the promise of paradise found and paradise protected.
Young and I know where